Pascal Siakam's come out hot this NBA season, seemingly making good on that top 5 player goal he set for himself before the season started. But how does he stack up against the rest of the MVP competition? Let's get into that. My name's John Ball. Let's do this. So everyone knows Pascal's putting up numbers on the offensive end. 26 points per game on great efficiency, 48% from the field, 36% from 3, doing the little things all over the court too, rebounding at almost 10 a game, 8 assists per game too. And when you do that at a good assist to turnover ratio of 2.8, on that kind of volume, 8 assists per game, let's say if you have an outsized impact on your teammates and your team, making everyone better. On the defensive end, he puts up some numbers too. What's that? 1 steal a game and half a block. Now, if we want to start understanding how does this compare to other people, we can take all those stats, put them together into one nice, neat number called the player efficiency rating, also known as PER. If we take a look at Pascal's compared to the rest of the league, he actually ranks number 12. Okay, now that's not quite top 5, but don't worry, that set doesn't quite take defense into consideration all that much. Another one we can look at too is defensive rating, which does just that. So if we take those top players there with the top PERs and look at their defensive ratings, we'll see Pascal's actually the top 5 defender by that stat, just after Anthony Davis at 105 defensive rating and way ahead of the 6th place James Harden at 111. So when we put the offense and the defense together, we see that Pascal's easily a top 10 player. He's got the scoring, shooting, rebounding, playmaking, defense, hustle, made for the modern NBA. So I'm going to get into comparing Pascal to the rest of these elite players in the NBA. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit, how am I thinking about this, okay? So the first thing, obviously, your regular statistics, 26, 10, and 8. Pascal's almost averaging a triple-double. That's great. But we want to look a little bit deeper too and say, okay, how is this guy's play impacting his team when he's on the court? Okay, and a great stat for that is the plus minus. All it does is say, how many points does your team get when you're actually playing basketball versus how many points does the other team get when you're playing basketball? So it's a pretty good stat. It's not perfect, but if we look at Pascal's and some of the peers there, Donovan Mitchell is actually miles ahead of the average here, plus 75 through these first, 7-8 games. Then we've got Giannis plus 69 close by, and then Siakam at 3rd at plus 62. And this is where we start seeing a pretty fast drop off. Jokic has a plus 51, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a 40, and then we drop down to Curry at 33. So those guys at the top are sort of in a league of their own. And plus minus lets us rule out some guys too, right? Like you look at Kevin Durant, we all know because we've been watching basketball that KD is not in this MVP conversation. And if you take a look at the plus minus, he's a minus 66. Not only is Brooklyn dealing with his drama, but when he's actually on the floor, he's losing. Like he's just not putting the ball in the hoop more than the other teams putting the ball in his hoop, okay? Some other questionables too, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, John Morant, all low negatives, but still, they're not scoring more points than the opponent when they're on the floor. Now, a final thing to keep in mind is intangibles, winning intangibles. That's a huge part of this for Siakam's case. He fits into his team perfectly because, well, he's just been there forever. He's got a great personality and he's grown up in Toronto. They've got a loving relationship back and forth, him and the team. And Toronto's one of the best organizations in the league. You got championship finals experience on the team. Siakam and Fred were both huge parts in that championship run a few years ago. And you just picked up Otto Porter Jr. from the Warriors. And a big part of MVP is also record. Like, what's the team going to be doing in the regular season? Okay, and this Toronto Raptors team goes hard in the regular season. Their starters played more minutes than any other starting group last year, and they're doing the exact same thing this year too. So they're going to try and win games and show out all year long. Okay, starting with the comparisons, we're a better place than with the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, the last 2 seasons. Anyways, he's averaging 20 points per game, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, a little rough from 3, 21%. So on offense, I'm definitely giving the edge to Siakam for shooting and for volume. He's hitting the 3 better, he's scoring more points. But Jokic, the playmaking, running the team, he just can't quite compare with Siakam, even though he's made some huge leaps in the playmaking front. Siakam has. On defense, though, it's really not a question. Siakam is totally crushing this guy. His defensive rating is 7 points better. So just for some context, what that means is if they played the same game, same skilled game on defense, same stats, Jokic would have gotten blown by whoever he was guarding 7 more times. That's what that means, just for some context. Now, as for how the teams are doing, the Nuggets are sort of having a mediocre record right now. The pieces are not coming together. And, maybe the team's going to get better as the season goes on. I'm sure they will. And Jokic, as the playmaker for that team, I'm sure he'll do a lot better too. But at this moment, it's not happening. And you got to take into account MVP fatigue for Jokic too. So I'm taking Siakam here. Next up, John Morant, 31 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 52% from 3. This guy's an offensive monster, man, but he's not quite the playmaker that Siakam is. Those 6 assists he's getting with 4 turnovers per game. So he's not actually efficient on those, but holy at those 3-point percentages, that's insane. Defensively, not a competition. He's 11 points, Ja is 11 points worse than Siakam in defensive rating. It's not close at all. If we look all around, Ja's got a -3 plus minus since the season started, and he's got a lot less rebounding than Siakam too. So I'm going to take Siakam on offense, maybe a tiny bit more efficient, and defense, head and shoulders better. Next up, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Man, I like this guy. He's a great player, Canadian, but I don't believe in OKC creating any MVPs this year. Josh Giddey just got hurt. Chet Holmgren's out for the season, and Victor Wembanyama, I'm sure, is looking quite tasty in their eyes. Okay, so we'll move on to Steph Curry here. He's averaging 31 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. 7 rebounds for Steph Curry? That's insane. 41% from 3. On offense, you got to give the edge to Curry versus Siakam. He's making his teammates better. And some of that's not encapsulated in the stats. He's got gravity. He makes that system work. On defense, though, there's a huge difference. Siakam's just way better. 8 points better in defensive rating. And in terms of team success, the Raptors are positive, doing quite well. I think they're maybe 3rd in the conference, and the Warriors are really disappointing. Just after that loss to the Orlando Magic, heartbreaker, 1 point. They're now 3-6 on the season. The young guys are just not coming along, and you got to put a lot of that on Steph just as the leader. It's not his fault that these guys aren't getting better, but winning on the court is really up to him. Next up, Luka Doncic, 36 points a game, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. Again, 3-point shooting, not doing so hot, 24%, but on offense, this guy's a total monster. There's no competition there. That entire offense runs through him. On defense, though, it's a similar story. Like, Luka and Siakam are not in the same conversation for defense. Siakam, 7 points up in defensive rating. Like I was saying before, that's like Luka and Siakam, they play, similar defense, but Luka just gets blown by 7 more times in a game. Okay, so that's a liability in comparison. If we take a look at the standings, they're both sort of in the middle of the pack, so it's hard to say who's better right now. So I'm going to leave that up to a coin toss. Next up, Dame Lillard, Dame time, baby. 31 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 39% from 3. On offense, Dame is one of the purest scorers. I'd say actually purest scorer in the league. He takes those super hard shots, so Dame's getting the edge there. Like 39% from 3, but you know what kind of threes Dame is taking here, okay? Defense, not close. We don't need to talk about that. Dame's not locking anybody up. But as for team success, Dame and the Blazers are off to a hot start here, man, doing so well. And you got to give Dame most of the credit there. He's putting them on their back, even though the Raps are doing quite good too. I'm going to take Siakam as a better overall player. But, if Dame keeps this up, he can have that underdog story rolling for him all season long. Next up, Jason Tatum. He's averaging, 30 points a game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 38% from 3. That's pretty solid scoring. And you got to give this scoring edge to Jason Tatum. But playmaking is not close. Like I mentioned, 4 assists, but he's getting 3 turnovers a game too. So he's not really playmaking, he's just passing the ball. Sometimes it works out. So offensively, it's either a wash or maybe even a slight edge to Siakam because, Tatum's getting 4 more points a game, but Siakam's actually playmaking and making his teammates way better. So even if we say that is a wash, it's about the same. If we look on the defensive end, Siakam's got this guy beat hard, man, hard. Okay, Jason Tatum's got a 10-point worse defensive rating. So again, he's getting blown by 10 more times than Siakam if they did everything else the exact same, on average, per game. Jason Tatum's plus-minus on the season, too, is -9. So when he's actually been playing on the court, the team's lost, which is kind of embarrassing for a player of his stature. As for team performance, they're somewhat similar. So putting all this together, definitely going with Siakam. Next up, we got Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's having one heck of a year, man. 34 points, 13 boards, 5 assists per game on 57% from the field. Like, that's just unreal numbers. On offense, when we compare these guys, Giannis and Siakam, he's got a couple edges, right? Playmaking, points for Siakam. Shooting, points for Siakam. But Giannis is pure volume and the efficiency at which he's scoring that and just, destroying the rim. Totally insane. So on offense, I'll give an edge to Giannis, and on defense, it's not really that close. As good as Siakam is at playing defense, Giannis is just at a whole other level. He's 8 points better in defensive rating than Pascal Siakam. That just tells you how awesome Giannis is as a player. It's totally unreal. Also, if we look at team performance, well, it's hard to do any better than 7-0, first place in the East. So I've got to say Giannis is definitely the runaway MVP so far. Next up, Kevin Durant going through an absolute disaster in Brooklyn. They're 2-6 right now, and it's just getting worse, okay? Trade request number 2 coming up. Just wait for it. Kyrie just got suspended 5 games. Ben Simmons looking super stiff with the back issues and not looking to score at all. KD, when he's even playing, is minus 66. So when he's actually playing on the court, they're doing terribly. There's really not a discussion here. Siakam at this moment in time is just a better player. Next up, Anthony Davis, 23 points a game, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, and actually over 2 blocks and 2 steals per game. 52% from the field, 28% from 3. On offense, AD has been improving lately. He's still forgotten how to shoot the 3 ball, but he hits the mid-range okay, even from deep. I don't know why he can't just take it out 1 foot, but it is what it is. So AD's scoring, I'd say it's pretty well on par with Siakam's, but Siakam's playmaking is on a whole nother level, and his aggressiveness too, and you gotta take that into account. Defensively, AD, that's his calling card. He's only 1 point better though than Siakam in terms of defensive rating, so quite similar, but he has better block and steal numbers, and that does contribute to that defensive rating. Now in terms of team, it's really not close here. The Lakers are super bad. Hopefully Russ off the bench works. There's a lot of hope there. I'm looking forward to watching that game later today, Friday. I'm guessing that's when this is coming out. But I'm a little bit worried that all this hype, these last couple wins, everyone thinks, oh, all the problems are fixed, so we'll just have to see. Anyways, Siakam's definitely better than AD, but I think AD is actually a little underrated. Last guy here, Donovan Mitchell, 31 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. This guy's hitting it well from 3 too, 43% from 3. Now, offensively, the volume edge definitely goes to Mitchell. The playmaking is good too. He's got a 2.0 assist to turnover ratio, so good. Not awesome. Siakam's around 3. So it gives Siakam a slight edge there. And I'm sure Mitchell looks forward to Garland being around to do more of those playmaking duties. On defense, they're just different levels here. Mitchell's really picking it up on defense, and that was a bit of a calling card for him in college, but the guy's only 6'1". He's 2 points better in defensive rating somehow than Siakam, so good for him. He's doing something right. 1.6 steals per game. But I'm going to go with Siakam still. He's just 6'9", bigger, stronger, and he can guard way more players. Okay, in terms of teams, Cavs are crushing it. It's hard to admit that as a Raptors fan, but they are doing quite well. Raptors are doing well too, but I'm going to call this a wait and see. We've got a huge rivalry coming here between these two teams, though, Cavs and Raptors, and it's cool to see that we'll even have an MVP rivalry going on here too between Mitchell and Siakam. To recap, Giannis is the only clear number 1 here. In the next sort of tier, I wouldn't put these guys in any particular order. Siakam, Luka, Donovan Mitchell. And by the way, that puts Siakam in that top 5 like he was hoping for at the start of the year. And there'll be ups and downs, but we'll see where he finishes off. I'm looking forward to this race, however it goes, especially out east. You got Giannis, Donovan, and Siakam. They'll be pushing each other and playing each other quite a few nights too. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So look out for my video next week too. I'm going to talk about what's going to take for Siakam to actually win MVP this year. What improvements does he have to make? What's he got to show? And also, tell me, where does Siakam rank in your top 10 in the comments section below? Remember to like and subscribe. It's John Ball. Peace.